Have you checked your grocery bill lately and thought, is this some kind of cruel prank? If you're seeing prices soar on everyday staples, from milk to bread to chicken, you're not imagining things. According to the latest reports from the USDA, overall grocery prices are on track to double by the end of March 2025. That's right. We're staring down the barrel of a food cost crisis the likes of which we haven't seen in decades. Severe weather, labor shortages, global shipping disruptions, and fast food chains gobbling up what's left of essential supply are all colliding to form the perfect storm, and it's about to hit your local supermarket with full force. How bad is it? One consumer analyst from Market Insights Weekly says, "The price hikes we're seeing now are only the tip of the iceberg. By late March 2025, even items you took for granted are going to look like luxury goods." Shocking? Absolutely. But it's also preventable, if you know how to act fast. Today, I'm going to share 10 grocery items that multiple experts, farmers, inside sources at major retail chains, and even critics of the fast food industry say will at least double in price over the next few weeks. Some of these items might not just get more expensive, they could flat out vanish from shelves. Especially number 6 and number 8. Those two alone could shake up the entire way we eat in America. This isn't your typical doomsday panic. We're talking real supply chain breakdowns, climate disasters ripping through fields, and big businesses locking in exclusive deals that leave everyday shoppers like us out in the cold. I've got insiders from the agriculture sector, whistleblowers in the fast food industry, and even customers themselves giving first-hand accounts of empty shelves, sky-high price tags, and unstoppable disruptions. If you value your food budget, and who doesn't, then stick around. Because if you act now, you might still have time to stock up or find alternatives before these staples become borderline unattainable. Let's dive in. Number 1. Wheat-based products. Let's start with the foundation of the American diet. Wheat. Think bread, pasta, cereal, basically everything lining the center aisles of your grocery store. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the cost of wheat soared by 24% from Q3 2024 to Q4 2024, and the upward trend has only accelerated in the first 2 months of 2025. By some estimates, your standard loaf of white bread could jump from an average of $2.50 to over $5 in a matter of weeks. Why the sudden hike? Extreme weather, plain and simple. Last summer's unprecedented drought in Kansas, often called the breadbasket of the world, decimated winter wheat crops. Satellite imagery analyzed by the National Drought Mitigation Center shows entire sections of farmland rendered unusable for the next planting season due to depleted topsoil. Meanwhile, unseasonal flooding in parts of the Midwest turned once fertile fields into waterlogged swamps, preventing timely planting. The result is a drastically lower yield, which means less supply and higher prices. But it's not just the raw wheat that's at risk. Processing facilities are also facing labor shortages. Multiple milling companies in the Dakotas have reported running at only 60 to 70% capacity, citing a lack of skilled workers and ongoing supply chain woes for replacement parts in their machines. One plant manager said, "I've been in this business 30 years, and I've never struggled this much to keep the mill running smoothly. Every broken conveyor belt or malfunctioning motor is on backorder for months." Then you've got the fast food chains. They buy flour in massive bulk. According to inside sources at a major pizza chain, corporate offices are signing long-term contracts with suppliers to secure as much flour as possible before the real crunch hits. This is great for the pizza giant, but it leaves regular grocery chains scrambling to find wheat for consumer products. Critics say these big chains are using their purchasing power to muscle out smaller retailers. What can you do? Stock up on shelf-stable wheat products, flour, pasta, cereals, while they're still somewhat affordable. Storing extra flour in airtight containers can keep it good for months. Or explore alternatives: rye flour, spelt, or even gluten-free flours, though those have their own supply issues, as we'll discuss. Bakers across the country are bracing for this wave, so don't be caught off guard when the price of your favorite bagels doubles. Number 2. Chicken, especially breasts and wings. If there's a single meat that Americans treat like a staple, it's chicken. From fast food fried chicken sandwiches to chicken Caesar salads, we rely on this relatively affordable protein in countless ways. But those days may be coming to a screeching halt. Chicken prices have already risen by 16% since January 2025, and insiders expect them to double by late March. What's behind it? Multiple factors. First, labor shortages in poultry processing plants are crippling production. The National Chicken Council reported earlier this year that staffing remains below pre-2020 levels. Workers have found other higher-paying jobs, leaving the poultry industry perpetually short-handed. This slows down slaughtering, deboning, and packaging lines, ultimately driving up costs. Second, feed prices have skyrocketed. With the weather pounding corn and soybean crops, the cost of feeding a chicken to market weight has surged. One farmer in Arkansas mentioned that feed is up nearly 40% from the same time last year, a cost that inevitably passes on to the consumer. On top of that, a wave of new regulations to combat avian flu strains has forced many poultry farms to implement stricter and more expensive sanitation measures. Critics point out that major fast food brands, like those specializing in chicken nuggets and crispy chicken sandwiches, aren't slowing down their demand. They've locked in contracts that guarantee them a steady supply, often at favorable prices. Meanwhile, the average grocery shopper sees empty shelves or deals that seem to vanish within hours. One store manager in Ohio told me they get a truckload of chicken breasts, and they're gone the same day, only to see the next restock delayed for over a week. If you can find chicken, you might see certain cuts heavily marked up. Breasts and wings, favorites in fast food, will be the first to skyrocket. Thighs and drumsticks might remain slightly cheaper, but don't expect any cut to stay low forever. Consider branching out to other proteins like turkey, pork, or plant-based options if you're looking for a more stable price. Alternatively, buying chicken in bulk and freezing it could save you big money in the next few months. Number 3. Cooking oils, especially olive oil. Olive oil prices climbing again? You better believe it. But it's not just olive oil. Sunflower, canola, and even soybean oil are all under pressure. Olive oil, though, is the poster child of this crisis. The International Olive Council reported the worst harvest in Spain and Italy, which together produced the lion's share of global olive oil in over 50 years. Unrelenting heat waves followed by intense flooding stressed olive groves to the brink. A Spanish olive grower told a European news outlet, "We lost almost half our usual yield. Extreme heat scorched the olives before they were fully ripe, and the floods destroyed whatever was left." Italy's production didn't fare much better. Farmers say the cost to produce a liter of high-quality extra virgin oil has almost doubled, forcing retailers to hike consumer prices. According to a wholesale importer in New York, shipments from Europe are erratic at best. Containers that used to take a few weeks to arrive can now take months due to backlogged ports and a shortage of shipping vessels. Closer to home, canola and soybean oil aren't safe either. Flooding in the Midwest hammered soybean yields, while canola fields in Canada faced a scorching summer that slashed production by nearly 20%. This is particularly problematic for fast food chains that rely on massive quantities of cheap oil to fry everything from fries to chicken. Experts say these chains are working feverishly to secure bulk oil shipments. That leaves grocery chains with limited supply and drives up prices for everyday shoppers. Don't count on cheap alternatives. Avocado oil and grapeseed oil, once niche markets, are seeing prices surge as customers jump ship from pricier olive oil. Even big restaurant supply stores are limiting how many cases of cooking oil a single buyer can purchase. If you rely heavily on olive oil for cooking, you may want to consider stocking up soon or experimenting with other methods, like baking or grilling with minimal oils. Storing oil properly in a cool, dark place can prolong shelf life, so buying an extra bottle or two now might save you from sticker shock in a few weeks. Number 4. Dairy, milk, cheese, and butter. If there's one section that signals the health of the grocery store economy, it's dairy. Milk, cheese, butter. They're in almost every American home. But climate, feed costs, and fierce competition from plant-based alternatives have led to a massive shakeup in the dairy market. According to the latest USDA dairy market news, milk output dropped by 12% nationwide due to severe heat stress on cattle last summer. In places like California's Central Valley, record-breaking temperatures caused a spike in veterinary costs, decreased milk yields, and even forced some farmers to cull parts of their herds. Cattle feed is another issue. With corn and soybean prices exploding, feeding a dairy cow has become far more expensive. Many small-scale dairy farms can't absorb these costs, prompting them to shut down or merge with bigger operations. This consolidation often reduces overall supply because mega dairies may limit production to keep prices profitable. Butter is a particular sore spot. If you've noticed the price per pound creeping up over the last few months, brace yourself. It's poised to double by late March. One factor is the increased global demand for U.S. butter, sparked by lower outputs in Europe and New Zealand. When international buyers offer higher prices, domestic consumers see fewer and more expensive options on local shelves. Cheese is feeling the squeeze, too. Premium cheeses like aged cheddar or artisan varieties might completely vanish from certain supermarkets. Even the big, ubiquitous cheddar blocks you find in warehouse clubs are going up in price. Food service distributors, who supply fast food restaurants with massive quantities of cheese slices, are locking in contracts, leaving grocery wholesalers in the dust. One fast food insider told me, "We need to ensure we have enough cheese to top millions of burgers and sandwiches. We'll pay a premium if we have to. Retailers can't always match those bids." Is there a workaround? Plant-based milks and cheeses, ironically, are also hitting sky-high prices. We'll cover that in item number 10. For traditional dairy lovers, buying in bulk and freezing extra butter or cheese might be a wise move. Milk can also be frozen, though some people dislike the texture changes once it thaws. In any case, being proactive could be the difference between paying today's price and forking over double in a matter of weeks. Number 5. Rice. Rice isn't just an Asian staple, it's a global one, central to countless cuisines, including many American households that opt for rice over bread. But 2025 is shaping up to be the year of the great rice shortage. The International Rice Research Institute, IRRI, notes a worrying 8.5 million metric ton shortfall worldwide, the largest since 2004. Flooding in parts of Southeast Asia, combined with punishing droughts in others, has hammered yields. India, the world's top rice exporter, has been flip-flopping on export bans to control domestic prices, which rattles the global market. A major shipping coordinator in Los Angeles confided that rice containers from Asia are delayed by weeks. Port congestion and new freight regulations are adding massive surcharges to every shipment. Importers are passing these costs on to retailers, who in turn pass them on to you. Expect your regular 5-pound bag of jasmine rice, once a budget-friendly buy, to nearly double in price by March's end. Here's the kicker. Even fast food giants are indirectly affecting rice prices. Restaurants that serve rice-based meals, like certain Tex-Mex or Asian-inspired chains, are bulk buying to ensure they won't run out, pushing everyday consumers aside. Critics say these multinational chains have an unfair advantage, using large-scale contracts that smaller family-owned grocery stores can't touch. Consumers, meanwhile, bear the brunt of the cost spike. The short supply is hitting specialty varieties the hardest: basmati from India and Pakistan, Japanese short-grain rice for sushi, and Thai jasmine. Brown rice is scarce too, because it has a shorter shelf life, leading suppliers to favor white rice for storage. If you're a big rice eater, you might consider diversifying your pantry with other grains like quinoa, barley, or couscous. And if you insist on stocking up, remember to store your rice in airtight containers to fend off pests. Once prices climb, they usually take a long while to settle back down. Number 6. Lettuce and leafy greens. Looking forward to a fresh salad? Be prepared to pay through the nose for the lettuce and leafy greens that once seemed like a cheap health food. California's Salinas Valley, famously called the salad bowl of the world, has been hit with extreme weather swings for 2 seasons straight. First, a scorching heat wave torched crops, then freak storms led to localized flooding that tore through entire fields of romaine and iceberg. Recent reports from the University of California Cooperative Extension indicate that production is down nearly 40% compared to early 2024. One grower said, "We can't catch a break. Every time we think the weather is stabilizing, another extreme event sets us back weeks or destroys an entire field. Such instability is pushing up the cost of fresh greens faster than almost any other produce category." But there's more. The fast food sector is also feeling the crunch. Burger chains and sandwich shops rely heavily on lettuce as a cheap filler. Think about those leafy green garnishes you see on every burger. When supply is tight, these massive chains secure long-term deals to ensure they can continue loading their sandwiches. That leaves the everyday grocery consumer out in the cold. One fast food critic, Jane Mitchell from Food Watchdog Weekly, claims that large chains' contracts artificially inflate prices by hoarding supply. The result? By March, a head of romaine could cost double what it does now, if you can find it at all. Spinach, kale, and other popular salad greens are similarly affected, especially the organic varieties that require even more careful growing conditions. If you're serious about having fresh greens at a reasonable price, consider small hydroponic farms or local farmers markets, which might have more stable supplies. Alternatively, you can try growing some greens at home. Many Americans turned to home gardening in 2020. And with the way lettuce is going, it's a trend that might come roaring back. Number 7. Beef, especially premium cuts. If you thought chicken was bad, wait until you hear about beef. Particularly, premium cuts like ribeye, sirloin, and filet mignon could become downright unaffordable for the average family. According to the Livestock Marketing Association, cattle herds in states like Texas and Oklahoma have been reduced dramatically due to a vicious cycle of drought and rising feed costs. When ranchers can't sustain their herds, they either downsize or exit the business entirely. That translates to less beef heading to the market. Data from early 2025 shows that the national cattle inventory dipped to its lowest level since the mid-1970s. This drop has been accelerating for years, but it's hit a tipping point now. An industry insider mentioned that the cyclical nature of cattle farming means once you reduce herd sizes, it can take years to rebuild. You can't just snap your fingers and produce more cattle, he said. From calf to market can be 18 to 24 months. The shortage we see now will loom over us well into 2026. The fast food angle? Burger-centric chains demand an enormous volume of ground beef. While that might hit cheaper cuts first, premium cuts indirectly feel the strain because the entire supply chain is interrelated. Slaughterhouses short on labor are prioritizing the highest margin deals. Sometimes that's fast food ground beef. Other times it's a big international client paying top dollar for premium U.S. cuts. Critics like consumer advocate Paul Graham say big meatpacking conglomerates are using the crisis to quietly boost margins. "We've been warning about industry consolidation for years," he notes. "Now a few major packers can effectively set prices." Grocery store managers in multiple states are reporting fewer shipments of top-tier cuts and expecting future deliveries to cost up to 50% more, potentially doubling by the end of March as supply tightens. What can you do? If you love steak, you might want to buy now, freeze it, and save it for a special occasion. Learning to cook tougher cuts, like chuck roast or brisket, could help you save money, as they tend to stay a bit more affordable, though those prices are climbing too. Alternatively, you might cut back on beef altogether, at least until the market stabilizes, which might not be anytime soon. Number 8. Eggs. Yes, eggs were already in a crisis in late 2024 when avian flu outbreaks sent prices soaring. Unfortunately, 2025 doesn't look any better. New strains of avian influenza have emerged in multiple states, forcing the euthanization of millions of laying hens. The American Egg Board confirms that flocks have been slow to rebound, and each outbreak triggers more stringent measures that push production costs higher. That's just the disease factor. Feed is once again part of the problem. With grain prices skyrocketing, feeding large flocks of hens becomes brutally expensive. Also, heightened regulations on cage-free systems, initially lauded as a win for animal welfare, require farmers to invest in new infrastructure. While many consumers are willing to pay more for cage-free or free-range eggs, the cost of compliance has soared, wiping out smaller egg producers who can't afford the upgrades. So, Fast food chains that serve breakfast all day, think of that ubiquitous egg and sausage biscuit or breakfast burrito, are snapping up as many eggs as possible. Insiders note that the big players often sign multi-year contracts with integrated suppliers, ensuring a steady flow of eggs for them, but again, leaving smaller grocery stores in the lurch. The result? Your usual carton of a dozen eggs, which might have dipped temporarily in price in late 2024 after the initial flu scare, is climbing back up, and projected to possibly double by March's end. We're already seeing some organic or specialty eggs at $7 or $8 a dozen in major urban centers. If that sounds steep, brace yourself for the possibility of $10 or more. If you rely heavily on eggs, consider alternatives such as powdered egg products, often used in commercial baking, or even plant-based egg substitutes. It may not be ideal for every recipe, but it can help you weather the storm. Number 9. Fresh fruits, berries, and citrus. We can't ignore the fruit section, especially the bright, colorful mainstays like berries and citrus. If you think a punnet of strawberries is pricey now, just wait a few more weeks. California's primary berry-growing regions have been walloped by climate extremes. Searing heat one month, torrential rain the next. Recent data from the California Strawberry Commission shows a 35% decrease in yields compared to early 2024. Another bombshell. Florida, often picking up the slack in the winter months, took multiple hits from unseasonable frost that destroyed a good chunk of early berry crops. Citrus isn't faring any better. Florida's orange production is at a 90-year low, hammered by hurricanes and citrus greening disease. The USDA's February 2025 citrus forecast spells out a stark reality. Orange yields are down over 60% from historical averages, and that figure might worsen as the season progresses. With oranges, lemons, and grapefruits so scarce, juices and byproducts, like citric acid used in everything from soda to cleaning products, will see a price crunch too. Fast food chains that offer orange juice as part of breakfast combos have already started limiting portion sizes or switching to cheaper, potentially lower-quality juice suppliers. Customers complain that the 100% fresh orange juice they use to enjoy tastes watered down or artificial. Critics say it's a cost-saving measure to handle the rising citrus prices. Meanwhile, your local grocery store just can't secure the volumes they used to. Berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries are especially fragile and require quick, temperature-controlled transport. With shipping costs soaring, any delay or backlog can render entire shipments spoiled. Retailers are ordering less to reduce risk, driving retail prices through the roof. Expect to see fewer fresh berries on display and sky-high prices on what's available. A tip for berry lovers: stock up on frozen. It's cheaper, and the nutritional difference is minimal. For citrus, consider grabbing juice concentrates while they're still affordable, or freeze fresh lemons and limes if you find a deal. The fruit shortage may last well into the summer if weather patterns don't stabilize. Number 10. Dairy alternatives, plant-based milks and cheeses. If you're thinking, well, I'll just avoid dairy by switching to almond or oat milk, get ready for a rude awakening. Dairy alternatives are in full-on crisis mode. Almond milk's woes trace back to California's catastrophic almond harvest. Drought conditions and water restrictions have hammered almond growers, slashing production by as much as 30%. That means less supply for almond-based beverages, flour, and other products. Oat milk isn't in the clear either. Oat harvests took a beating in the northern plains, and multiple major oat milk facilities have been operating below capacity due to equipment shortages and labor gaps. A production manager at one Midwest facility told me, "We're months behind schedule on necessary repairs, and every time we try to scale up, we find out another part is on back order." The synergy of high demand and low output is pushing prices up fast. Add to this a surge in consumer interest. More Americans than ever are turning to plant-based alternatives, either for health reasons, ethical concerns, or simple curiosity. The Plant-Based Foods Association reported a 27% jump in retail sales for dairy alternatives in late 2024, and the momentum continued into 2025. Supply simply can't keep up. One major grocery chain told its stores to limit how many units of almond and oat milk they order so they can spread inventory across all locations. And yes, fast food restaurants have joined the game. Several big-name chains now offer plant-based coffee drinks or vegan cheese on certain menu items, thereby further squeezing supply. The meltdown has also hit soy milk and coconut-based products. Manufacturing these requires specialized inputs and shipping routes, all of which are in chaos right now. For consumers dependent on plant-based milks, whether by choice or due to allergies, this is a major problem. Your best bet might be learning to make your own. Homemade oat or almond milk can be produced with basic kitchen tools, though almonds themselves might be pricey. Powdered pea protein-based milks are another backup. If your go-to brand is still on the shelf, consider grabbing an extra carton or two of the shelf-stable versions before prices spike beyond recognition. So there you have it. 10 grocery items that experts, insiders, and critics alike predict will at least double in price before the end of March 2025. Some might even vanish temporarily from store shelves. From wheat-based staples and chicken to produce and plant-based milks, no corner of the grocery store is safe. The combined impact of climate disasters, labor shortages, fast food chains locking down massive contracts, and global shipping snags has created a once-in-a-generation crisis. But this isn't about inciting panic. It's about being prepared. If any of these foods are a crucial part of your household's diet, think about buying extra and storing it correctly. You can freeze cheese, meat, and certain vegetables with minimal quality loss. Dry goods like flour, rice, and cereals can last a long time if kept in airtight containers away from moisture and pests. Explore local farmers markets or co-ops that might have smaller, more direct supply chains. They could offer stability when national chains fail. Also, remain adaptable. Consider alternative ingredients, like using lentils or beans instead of costly beef, or trying barley, quinoa, or bulgur in place of rice. Plant your own small garden if you have space, or get creative with container gardening for herbs and leafy greens. Every bit of self-reliance can help you ride out the storm. As for the fast food connection, critics argue that these chains aren't just innocent bystanders. They're often key players in driving up demand and hoarding supply through aggressive bulk contracts. Others say they're just trying to secure products to keep their doors open. Either way, the result for the average grocery shopper is the same: higher prices and fewer choices. What's next? Agriculture analysts hope better weather cycles might ease pressure in the second half of 2025, but there's no guarantee. Inflationary trends could keep prices elevated even if supply rebounds. If you've noticed empty shelves or sudden price spikes already, this is just the beginning. Stay vigilant, shop smart, and be ready to pivot your diet if needed. Let me know in the comments. Which of these items have you already seen vanish or double in price? Have your eating habits changed? Are you turning to local farms or trying to budget differently? We're all in this together, and sharing information is one of the best ways to stay ahead of the curve. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like button and subscribe for more in-depth looks at what's really going on behind the scenes in our food system. Stay prepared, stay flexible, and I'll see you in the next update. Until then, good luck navigating those grocery aisles, and remember, it pays to stay one step ahead of the storm.